had a question that I promised that I would get to, and it has to do with modifying PowerPoint templates. So I'm going to start off with a couple of things, and the question basically came about, I talked about a set of templates that I was really kind of enjoying and I recommended. And it's from a guy, his name is Ilham, and we've gotten to be friends on Skype. But here I'm going to go ahead and paste the link to this set of PowerPoint video templates. It's called Levidio. And there were some things about it that I really liked that I don't see in a lot of the other PowerPoint video templates. I loves me some PowerPoint video templates because there's lots of good animation in there and things like that. And I'll make a couple of points along the way as we kind of get to this. But these templates I found to be really kind of handy-dandy in a couple of the techniques that he uses, and I'll kind of show you why. So here I have a set that I did a sample for, and this is called the photography video set. So it would be for like showcasing a photography studio or a photographer. Okay, and I did a sample, and I'll put a link to that so you can kind of see the final result. And actually I'll show it to you in Camtasia here in just a second. But I want to make just a couple of quick points here. He does some pretty interesting things like lens flares. So on this particular slide I'm going to click on animations, and I'm going to hit preview, and the thing kind of comes in, it rolls, it spins, and then a little lens flare thing. So I like that particular kind of effect. Might be kind of handy. And one of the reasons I like templates is, gosh, so I could take this little thingy, this little, I'll show you how to pick it out of a crowd here, this lens flare thing. Move a couple things out of the way just so I can demo this. And I'll show you how to pick this out later. So it's just a little image. Now I could take this and I could like copy it, right? And I could like put it somewhere else. So one thing I like about templates like this is I might not use all of the slides. In fact, I rarely do this. I rarely create a video out of all the silly slides that you get in a template. But there are certain things that I like that I can copy and then paste in other slide content or slide projects, right? So I'll preview this one more time now that I've moved things around. So that little circle and blur and fade out, well, that is an animation. Let's actually take a look at that for a second. So I'm going to, on animations, go to the animation pane, and you'll notice that it is this group of effects already done for me. Okay, and the way I could use it is, well, if I like this element, I could just, of course, right-click and copy, and then go to a different slide and paste it, right? Probably a pretty poor choice of slide there, being on a white background. So I could do that. I could also just copy the effect if I wanted by clicking on it, and then you have this thing called the animation painter. Okay, so I can click on that, and then I can apply that animation to a different object. So let's just use this little graphic here. Okay, so it's going to kind of take on the same animation properties. So those are two little things that you can do. But let me talk just a little bit about modifying things like this. So here I have a slide, and if you kind of notice, it has a camera reticule here and then a nice image on the background. Well, what you might not notice is that it also has like this mask element, and this is just kind of a transparency thing. When you go to work on slides like this, especially if they have animation that comes in from the sides, here's a big tip. Hold your control key down and use your mouse wheel and zoom out, or you won't be able to see all the stuff that's coming in from outside of the slide. And like I mentioned, the very top element here is this mask thing. Well, if I want to change the picture underneath this, which is obviously on top, you got to move this out of the way. Okay, I'll show you another trick in just a second. So I'd have to move this out of the way, but if I was zoomed all the way into this slide, very difficult to do. I mean, I can literally just get it out of here, then click on what I want to change and change it, right, if I want to, and then put it back. Here's a trick for putting it back, and then I'll show you how to not have to move it in the first place. Yeah, I could try to line it up like this with the little lines and like that with my mouse. This is easier. So I'm going to go to Format and Align Center and Align Middle. And now it's back on top where it needs to be. Now, as you work with almost any kind of template, especially ones that have multiple layers and animations and stuff, you can do yourself a huge favor by learning and understanding this feature in PowerPoint. Go to the Home tab. Over here, you have this thing called Select. Drop that down and open up what's called the Selection pane, right? This is going to show you all of the elements and their order in layers, right? So, like I mentioned, I want to change this picture underneath and put one of my photographer's photos in there because I'm modifying this for a client. Well, I'll click on the top, which is that mask layer. Oh, there it is. Undo that. But when I click on it, notice that it shows up over here. And there's a little eye tool here. If I turn the visibility of that layer off, now I can work on the next layer here. Okay? And when I'm finished, I can turn it back on. And notice that I never moved it. I never moved that mask. I didn't touch it. I read that as I didn't screw it up at all in its positioning or anything. Turn it off. Do what you got to do, and then turn it back on, and life will be good. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to show you one of the things I love about these templates. This guy uses what's called SmartArt to be able to modify these. Now, lots of template makers will just put a picture here, and they will stretch it out, and then you run the risk of, oh, well, now I screwed up the size if I swap it out, or you got to delete it and then import, you know, other things like that. This is SmartArt, and I know it's SmartArt because it is designated in the selection pane as a diagram. Okay, so I'm going to click on it on the canvas here, and I'm going to delete this. And you'll notice what happened. The SmartArt diagram stays there. But SmartArt, one of the cool things you can do is you can change like the pictures and stuff. So now I'm just going to, oops, I'm going to click on that. And you got to kind of hold your mouse just right to get to click on that image. And now I can go find a photo from my photographer, and I can go ahead and put that in. We want them to be widescreen, and now everything's all in place. I'll turn my mask back on, and everything will just work. So using the SmartArt here is like one of the sweetest ways to be able to quickly modify these kinds of things. Right? So that's one of the things I really enjoy about these templates, and he uses them a lot. So I'll go down here, and again with the selection pane open, I'm going to click on something, and this says it's a group, and then I have a group of SmartArt. So diagram 20, I'm going to click inside here. Now I have this, and I can do the same trick. Delete. And you see how much smaller this image is than like that image, right? So here she is small, here she is big. It's the same picture, only the SmartArt resizes it. So I can swap this out, and I can pick, you know, my picture, and it's going to resize it, and things just kind of work, and they kind of work nicely. And he has some great animation and stuff. So here, for example, on this particular slide, again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and you'll notice that one of the pictures is the background. There's the girl sitting on the bench. Well, I want one of my photographer's pictures to be that picture, the background. Well, there's all this stuff on top. So again, the selection pane is really the key. Since he has these grouped over here, I can turn off an entire group. That's going to get rid of that. And sometimes you don't know what layer something is on because of these cryptic names. So sometimes what you need to kind of do is just start turning stuff off. And I actually do that quite a bit. We'll turn that off. We'll turn that off. It might even be this diagram down at the bottom, but I can't modify it until I can get to it. Now I can get to it. I see that it's a diagram, which means that I can just hit delete and change the SmartArt. We'll browse for that, and we'll put penguins in the back of this one and turn stuff back on, and you'll notice that all his effects, the masking, the different layers, all of that stuff just kind of automatically comes back into play, yet the slide has been completely modified. Boom! Love that. Okay, so that's kind of a couple of tips there. Another interesting thing that he does is kind of like a Ken Burns effect. I think I'll go to a different, let's go to a different slide deck to kind of check that out. I think it's on the university set of slides here. So here we have kind of a blurred image in the background, and go to animations and we'll just preview this. So you notice the background is moving slightly. What an interesting effect, right? I like it. He's got text coming in and all that good stuff, and we call it a Ken Burns effect. Well, he's doing it completely in PowerPoint. So again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we'll just kind of take a look at that. Let's go to animations, open up the animation pane. So here it is basically, if I hover over this, it says it is a grow and shrink effect, and I can actually see that up here. So I could, see what the options are and stuff like that. Or let's try this. Let's just do something. So I'm going to create a new slide, make it blank. And again, a lot of times this is how I work. I like this slide. Am I going to use all these other slides in a particular video? Probably not. But I like this, and I want to kind of replicate it, or use it again, or maybe even in a whole other project. I want that effect. So here, let's see, what I probably should do is, this is with SmartArt. I'm going to try something here. I'm just going to insert an image, picture, and let's see kind of what happens here. So this isn't necessarily in widescreen format, so I'm just going to kind of have to stretch her out a bit. And I'll probably actually go a little beyond the edges just to see what happens. So I'm a little bit outside the box, but let's try this. So I'm going to click on this. Here is the animation. Let's see, and I haven't actually tried this, so let's try it. I'm going to click on the animation tab. I know I'm highlighted on the correct animation. And I'm going to click Animation Painter, and let's go to this image here and transfer the animation to this picture. So here, boom, I have a Ken Burns effect. Now what might I do with that? I might save just 1 or 2 slides with the effects that I like. Okay, this image now has a Ken Burns effect on it. So I might put this in, a new slide deck that are just effects that I like. And the little trick I did with the animation painter, guess what? You can do that across slide decks. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click Animation Painter. I'm going to go to a completely different slide deck. Now granted, I'd probably like to have an image. Let's try it. And now you see my little cloud guy has a Ken Burns effect. Now, I mean, it's not as dramatic as with a full screen image, but the bottom line is, if I go to animations and the animation pane, this guy has the shrink and grow effect applied to it. So when I find things in templates that I like, I will pull something like that out, and now I have it as a tool to use and copy. Okay, and I literally have, I'll call this like an effects toolkit when I save it out and things like that. Let's see, here's another example. Let's try something like this, and I'm going to delete this diagram object. And now I have all of this text that's going to just kind of animate in. So it's almost like a word cloud, or something kind of interesting like that. So one of the things I might do if I want to replicate that is I'll just copy these with all their animation and put them on like a sample slide. And it's like a swipe file. So at the end of the day, I guess what I'll say is I will have this slide as a sample that has the animation. I will have this slide, and I'll probably change the back. Let's change the background, right? As a word cloud sample. Okay, easily modified, all that good stuff, but everything's already done. And let's take a look at the animations there. Okay. Look at this. All this hideous amount of work is already done. So this is my swipe slide. And at the end of the day, like I mentioned, what I'll have is just a whole group of these things that have animations that I like that I can use. So sometimes that's a matter of, well, I don't want any of this crap here or that guy or any of that. But what I do like is the way that bar comes in and then the text flies in, okay, and then flies out or whatever. So oops, let me undo that. So what I might do is, like I say, I will highlight all this other junk and just get rid of it in mass. Boom, gone. Now I have a swipe file, right? I have a swipe. And of course, all of this is really easy to change. Let's change the color to something else. And maybe that's the outline. I'm not totally sure. No, it's not the outline. So these are individual elements. I mean, I can change whatever I want to here, basically. But it's a good template. Right? And when I want to use this in another project or something, I can either copy the whole slide, or I can just grab the deal. I could go ahead and group these if I wanted to. But, people get hung up. They try to make videos out of the slides that they're given. And sometimes that works, But I think what you'll find is more often than not, there's going to be some stuff in there that you don't need or want. And, you can pick and choose, I guess, is my point there. Let's see, what else do we got? Where do you get SmartArt? Asked Jerry. SmartArt comes with PowerPoint. If I go to Insert, SmartArt. And here you go. You got all kinds of it. Now, I need to dig in, and in fact, I'm going to ask Elam how, because I've tried this before, and I failed at it miserably. I'm not really sure exactly how to create a piece of your own smart art. I kind of have a feeling what he did was he just took one. Well, let's try one. We'll just stick one in here, and then he just maybe started deleting stuff, because when you delete it, it changes and things like that. So what he probably did was he took a picture, a piece of SmartArt with picture elements in it. There's no easy or readily apparent way to kind of screw around with this, I don't think. So I don't know, I'm going to just try to change this to a rectangle and see what happens. So now I have a piece of SmartArt, essentially, that is a rectangle. And SmartArt lets me, kind of do some stuff here, but more importantly, there are ones that allow pictures in them, like these. So that's how you get that little icon right here. Oh, how about that? I just did it. Let me get rid of some of that. So there you go. Made me a piece of SmartArt. Didn't even know it. See what happens. Put a koala bear in there. There's a koala. So now anybody else that wanted to modify this, you just click on it and hit delete and change your picture. Now I think some other folks might do this with templates, but quite frankly I don't recall seeing it, but I like them. I like these guys. You can also name the items in the selection pane. It says Marcia Berkeley. Absolutely. So let me go back to that example for just a second. If I was to create a template that I wanted to reuse, see, and even in the animation pane, you can't do it here. The animation pane reflects what the layers are named. So let's go back to the selection pane. If you want to make things really easy, then what you do is you change this from diagram 9 to top logo. Boom, right? Now it makes just all kinds of things easier, and you can, you continue that. Center rectangle, and stuff like that. Main text and all that good stuff. Then when you go back to the animation pane, where is it? I thought that would be changed. Maybe I did something wrong. I might have skipped slides or something. Anyway, if you change it in the selection pane, then that's what its name is, and it hopefully should reflect here in animations.